The first sanctions against the Russian automotive industry were introduced on February 26, 2022. If you list all the sanctions imposed during 2022, then it seems that the Russian automotive industry should be left with only ruins, as after a carpet bombing. But what is it really? Let's get a look. 2022, all foreign car manufacturers, with the exception of Chinese ones, closed their factories in Russia. It was a serious blow. For example, the Russian Hyundai motor plant produced 234,000 cars a year, the Volkswagen plant 121,000, and the Renault plant 144,000, which created a minimum of jobs, and the economic effect of their work was also insignificant. Significantly localized production of passenger cars in Russia, using a large number of national components and with a large number of employed personnel, was carried out at only 2 plants. These are the Volga Automobile Plant, abbreviated Avtovaz, and the Ulyanovsk Automobile Plant, abbreviated UAZ. Both were hit hard by the sanctions and had to shut down production, but both eventually resumed normal operations. According to the results of January this year, Avtovaz managed to sell more cars in Russia than in January 2022, 17,700 against 16,200, and this is releasing only half of the previous line of cars. The production of the main bestseller, Lada Vesta, will resume in March. The second Russian national passenger car manufacturer, the Ulyanovsk Automobile Plant, which produces subs and light trucks, managed to transfer the purchase of many components to China by the beginning of 2023 and stabilized its work. This January, 45% fewer subs of the UAZ brand were sold on the Russian market than in January 2022, while sales of light trucks remained at the same level. The Chinese car manufacturer Haval built a large car assembly plant in Russia several years ago, and now it is successfully taking advantage of the withdrawal of European, Japanese and Korean competitors from the market. If in January 2022 it sold 2,800 of its cars in Russia, then in January 2023, 4,200 cars. And production continues to grow. The government of the city of Moscow, which got the closed assembly plant of Renault, resumed the production of cars on it. Now this plant assembles crossovers from Chinese car kits. The plans are grandiose. The plant should start producing 50,000 cars a year, and later the assembly of electric vehicles is planned. Now let's move on to the situation with Russian truck manufacturers. In the Republic of Tatarstan, the LCV Ford Transit was assembled for several years. The production was deeply localized. Russian enterprises supplied body parts, suspension parts, glass and many other components. In 2022, Ford decided to leave Russia. But during the second half of 2022, the plant quickly rebuilt production, concluded an agreement with partners from China on the supply of car kits, and in December began mass production of a complete analog of the Ford Transit called Atlant and another LCV called Argo. The Gaz plant, which specializes in the production of LCVs and medium trucks, has been under delayed U.S. sanctions for the previous 4 years, which were introduced against it last May. But the company was completely ready for this, and production did not stop, although the production of cars was reduced. In January 23 in Russia, sales of LCVs of the GAZ brand were a third less than in January 2022, and sales of medium trucks decreased by 37%. And yet, in December 2022, the GAZ even launched a new model into production. This is the LCV Sobol NN with a gross weight of 2.5 to 3.5 tons. The Ural automobile plant ended 2022 even with a 4.4% increase in Russian sales, but this January its deliveries to the domestic market fell by almost 2/3. Another Russian manufacturer of heavy trucks, the Kamaz automobile plant, abbreviated as Kamaz, also did not escape the fall in deliveries to the domestic market. According to January data, they fell by a quarter. In January, the plant produced 190 trucks per day, but already in March it plans to reach the pre-war daily rate of 210 trucks, and increase it to 220 by autumn. Despite the most severe personal sanctions, Kamaz even continues to develop a project for the production of a new Compass model with a gross weight of 9 to 12 tons, which is assembled from Chinese car kits. But the main task for the development of the model line at the plant is seen in the resumption of production of the latest family of K5 trucks, heavily saturated with imported components. More precisely, their production did not stop throughout 2022, during which about 1,500 such trucks, mainly two-axle truck tractors, were manufactured from pre-war stocks of components. But at the beginning of 2022, the management of the plant was faced with the task of starting the production of trucks of the K5 family in 2023 without the use of components from countries that had imposed anti-Russian sanctions. And now this task is completed. The first such trucks left the assembly line of the Kamaz plant in February. In total, in 2023, the plant plans to produce about 10,000 trucks of the K5 family. Thus, the national automotive industry in Russia has demonstrated flexibility, the ability to radically change, persistence in the fight against difficulties, and therefore has withstood the sanctions and continues to develop steadily. The departure of foreign manufacturers even benefited her. The production of components within the country is growing, additional investments have gone into automotive production, and the number of personnel is growing. But it is not possible to quickly replace the production volumes of closed foreign factories and imports. As a result, a flood of Chinese cars and trucks poured into Russia. Their number of sales increased several times during 2022. Thus, in the next few years, Chinese car manufacturers will make a very profitable business in Russia, both by exporting finished cars and trucks and by supplying components to Russian car factories.